Hello, my name is Trey Augustine, and I'm gonna be discussing my blog 3. Now, this blog uh, was an argument on the basis if technology does indeed influence cultural sensitivity, and if it's done so towards the progression of technological development. And I did stand on the side that agreeing that technology has influenced. Now, before I even started this blog, I made sure to establish what cultural sensitivity even means, pretty much. I established this in the first paragraph, and I stated that it is understood as being aware and accepting of the differences that exist among people with different cultural backgrounds. Now, after I was able to establish this cultural sensitivity, I was able to transition into my main arguments. The first one being that technology has created a mutual understanding and common interest between societies. Now, this is meaning that the technology has made everything more universal. So technology has established all these relationships, all these connections, and now everything's becoming more universal. People are starting to see the same thing. Culture's not really starting to be carried on because it's being comprised. It's being meshed together. So people are having more common interests, disregarding their cultural background. And now this plays into how we portray sensitivity towards our communication with others, because if you're putting yourself with your best foot forward and you're establishing your own culture, you're going to be more sensitive to how people react to that and how people interpret it. Now, I did a logos appeal, and I was rationally thinking, if society is changing the values in itself, then individuals and societies are going to put more effort into representing the culture. Now, I figure that this would occur because there's more instances where people are providing their own background. And as said earlier, if you're putting your best foot forward and you're on a limb, you're going to be more sensitive to how people interact with that and how they just respond. Now, I used two sources. One source was specifically to get the cultural sensitivity definition, and this source was titled, "What Does Cultural Sensitivity Mean?" Pretty straightforward. I used it because I wanted a clear-cut definition of cultural sensitivity that I was able to work with. Now, my second source was my major source, and it was titled, "Does Technology Impact Culture?" Now, first and foremost, I chose these topics because of their relevance to the topic itself. Both spoke directly on cultural sensitivity, and the second one, does technology impact culture, even spoke with technology and how it interacts with culture. Now, the second source, does technology impact culture, helped me get more background and understanding of the argument, which is why it was one of my major sources as opposed to the other one. And then secondly, I use these sources because of the credibility. The second source, "Does Technology Impact Culture," is published by an organization, and it has a credible author who is named Sandra. And in the article itself, that she stated she is a public relations professional who works in marketing communications full-time and teaches part-time, and is also in a graduate studies program working towards her master's of public relations. Now, thirdly, I saw interest in the amount of ethos I wanted to use for this actual blog itself, so that's why I was looking so hard for these sources. Now, the article, "Does Technology Impact Culture?" This article is used as this article used great outside resources to help further her argument, which was somewhat coherent to mine. So since it was similar to mine, I was able to use her outside resources too as well. And that's why I found this source as a really strong article that I was able to work with. Now, for example, I used her outside resource in my own blog. It was by an organization called Media Society, a critical sociology of media. Now, they're considered a perspective, so that's a frontier, making innovative studies, researches, and whatnot. And this ethos appeal pretty much talked about how technology impacts what we see as normal and what influence society's values. Now, I found this just as a really credible statement, just because of who published it and their significance in this field of study. Now, a lot, just going back, like a lot of the core arguments I had derived from like outside resources within that article. Does technology impact culture? Now, I wanted to state like any objections that I saw further. I saw one possible objection that could possibly debunk my argument or whatnot, but this would be to my logos appeal, and it could be reasoning that how it could have possibly been a post hoc doubtful cause. Now, I stated, quote, if society is changing the values in itself, then individuals in society are going to put more effort into representing their culture. And this is, end quote, and this is pretty much one event following another. And that is indeed true. But on the background of this, I did have multiple forms of evidence where I was able to like reason with and then induct how individual society are going to put more effort into representing their culture. Now, that is going to conclude my presentation of Blog 3. And I just want to say thank you for your time and thank you for watching.